Glad you made it back, everybody. The divider-in-chief, Joe Biden, set to give his first State of the New Union address. Yeah, it's a joint session of Congress, that kind of thing. Joining me now, Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter. Congressman, welcome back to the Salcedo Show. Your colleague, Congressman Brady, told me today on the radio that Biden and Pelosi are sending mixed signals on vaccine efficacy as they limit attendance to tonight's address to a group of people who are fully vaccinated, will be masked, and could be socially distanced. Aside from promoting vaccine hesitancy, what else do you think is going on here?
Well, I think it's obvious that they're trying to cover up for Joe Biden. Let's face it, these first 100 days that he has been in office have been nothing short of a disaster. He's ruled by executive order, and keep in mind, this is the candidate, Joe Biden, who said that any president who rules by executive order is nothing more than a dictator. Yet he has passed and signed more executive orders than any president in modern history. And what have we got out of this? And in the first 100 days of his presidency, we've got nothing more than broken promises, a crisis at the border, and them pushing a radical liberal policy. So it truly has been a disaster. And as far as messages with the vaccine, the mixed messages, there's not really been any mixed messages. We only have to go back to when Joe Biden was a candidate, Kamala Harris was a candidate. Both of them were trashing the vaccine, saying there's no way you could come up with an effective vaccine in that short a period of time. Well, we've proven that President Trump was correct and that he was right, and that we do have a safe and effective vaccine now.
Now, we're betting that Biden will not address the multiple crises he's created at the border. Thus, he's not going to have any solutions. But we do expect many grab your wallet moments. What do you think?
No question about it. Look, what the Democrats and Joe Biden are proposing through their radical liberal agenda is going to be the biggest tax increase in the history of this country. We're all going to end up paying more taxes if they are successful in passing this liberal agenda that they are proposing here. And it's so unfortunate to have come after the Trump administration and the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was such a boon to our economy, that put money into people's pockets and give them the opportunity to spend and choose the way that they want to spend their money. Now we're going to have the federal government just taking away all of our expendable cash in the way of tax increases.
Mr. Biden and the Democrat socialist cheerleaders in the press, they've ignored reports on his climate witch doctor, John Kerry, reportedly leaking Israeli covert operations to the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, Iran. Today, you called for an investigation, but as you know, Congressman, socialists often thumb their nose at the rule of law. Do you expect an investigation here?
I would certainly hope we get one. John Kerry should resign. He should resign, and an investigation should be held. I did indeed send a letter and sign on to a letter that was sent to the president, to the speaker, and requesting this. What John Kerry has done is nothing short of treason, and he cannot be trusted. He should not be interacting with other, especially Iranian leaders, and an investigation must be held. And we need to know, the American people need to know, this is past serious. This is, I would say it is.
I concur.
It doesn't border on treason.
It is very serious, and this love affair that Mr. Kerry has had with the #1 state sponsor of terrorism dating back to before the Obama years is truly troubling, and this time I hope we get to the bottom of this. I wanted to get your reaction to former Georgia Senator Kelly Lefler calling on the Attorney General to investigate Brad Raffensperger over his 2020 election conduct. What do you think is motivating her to do this now after everything has been said and done?
Well, certainly Kelly Lefler poured her heart and spirit and into a race that many feel was not held properly, and that there could have been and quite possibly may have been irregularities in that. What Brad Raffensperger did in March of 2020, when he entered into that settlement agreement with the Democratic Party, was wrong. The executive branch, and he's a member of the executive branch, should not have entered into that without the consent, or at least the knowledge of the state legislature. Our Constitution is clear that the state legislature should set the voting processes for state elections. And they did just that when they passed the election integrity law in this recent session. However, when Brad Raffensperger entered into that settlement agreement with the Democratic Party back in March, I led a call of our congressional delegation objecting to that and protesting that. We got no response from him after that call. We followed it up with a letter, still no response. So I
Congressman,
believe she has every right to call for this, and I don't blame her one iota.
Yeah, I hate to interrupt. I only got about 30 seconds left, but we know about what happened in Michigan. There was a court case, and the Secretary of State up there was found to have violated her state's constitution, her state's laws on election. Is there a similar effort going on in Georgia? Do you know about any lawsuits down there that are persisting to try to get to the bottom as whether or not laws were adhered to? Give me about 30 seconds.
Well, I'm not familiar with any specific legislation or any specific suits that might be going in that direction, but there should be. There certainly should be. Look, what happened last year was wrong. And thank goodness the Georgia State Legislature addressed that with the Election Integrity Act, making voting easier and cheating harder. That's exactly what they are charged with doing. They did their job. I applaud them for doing that. I don't blame anyone for protesting last year's election.
I'm with you, Congressman. I think that we put laws out there to be followed, and when government doesn't follow the law, I always consider that a bad thing. Congressman Buddy Carter, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.